Hi everybody, it's Coach Collard here at ArizonaShortSaleTV.com. I'm joined by my partner back there behind the camera. It's Ryan Melville.
Hello.
He's waving, but anyways, today what we're going to cover is we're going to talk to you, the consumer, whether it be an investor or a buyer or whomever out there. We're going to talk to you about how we handle the transaction of a short sale from the standpoint of negotiation, of basically the approval, and then getting into the conversation of deficiencies, because there's a lot of what we call folklore, myth, and legend around deficiencies, and a lot of people don't really have a method that's consistent with not only the state laws and the statutes, but with their broker and their philosophy in business. So I'm going to share with you what we do and how we handle things. So first and foremost, when we get a short sale and we're working a short sale, our number one objective, and it's basically our primary objective, all we're doing is working for the approval on the short sale. We're going to do what we've got to do for the process and the long haul to get that approval. Once we get the approval, we handle buyer issues secondary to the approval. Now, what I mean by that, and you got to be very sensitive in listening to this, I would in no way exclude the importance of our buyers in the transaction, because without a buyer, we don't have a deal we can get approved. The point is, though, is a lot of negotiators out there, and I hear a lot of agents talk about this on a regular basis, is that they'll come and they'll say, well, I'm going to lose my buyer. I've got to let the lender know that the buyer's going to walk. I'm going to just let you know up front, across the board, 24/7, the rest of your life, and going back 3 years, the lender doesn't give a rip whether you have a buyer that's going to walk or not. They're in their process. They've got a process to get to approve the short sale, and they're not going to move based on the buyer's going to walk. They can't make their decisions based on that. Well, I identified that early in the process, and so we don't manage our process based on whether the buyer's threatening to walk or anything like that. What we do is we over communicate to them to let them know where the transaction's at. Okay, so there's a three-step process here, and the first one is the approval. We're working for the approval at all costs. That's what we're working for. Secondarily to that, I'll handle the buyer's issues, meaning if we're working towards an approval and a buyer up and walks, now I'm going to work with the buyer and the buyer's agents to try to keep them in line, but I'm not going to stop the lender from getting the approval because of the buyer's threats. Does that make sense? Even if they walk sometimes, I'm not going to go chase after it and stop the transaction. I'm going to get that approval. Then we handle the buyer separate from that, because they're two different things, and you can't let a secondary issue affect the primary issue, which is the approval. I think I'm clear on that. Third to that, and this is really what irritates me personally, but it gets out on the streets and it confuses people, and it really sets false expectation. There's an expectation out there, because there's a lot of attorneys that do short sales, that you can negotiate deficiencies. Well, for the most part, deficiencies aren't negotiable, and they've been becoming negotiable because it's popular to do, and more people would like to see them go away. State law in Arizona prohibits a real estate agent from negotiating a deficiency. So we stay out of the deficiency as far as the negotiation of it. I'll facilitate it, but it's not my decision, nor is it just the homeowner's decision. The homeowner's going to decide on the deficiency, on what they will or won't accept, along with reference from an attorney, a real estate attorney, that can advise them on what the appropriate measures are. Then they bring that back to us, and then we'll take that to the lender, and I'll work that and facilitate the negotiation. But I won't actually negotiate the deal, meaning with my knowledge, with my understanding. I'll just facilitate the transaction. I won't make the decision on it. So kind of to sum all this up, let's bring this to light. You come to us with a short sale and you're concerned, you're like, oh my gosh, are we going to have deficiencies and blah, blah, blah. Well, you're going to have a tax deficiency if there's forgiven debt, regardless, even if it's a foreclosure. You may or may not have financial liabilities, and those financial liabilities are based on state statute and other things. We've seen that most of the time a short sale is a good answer for people, and attorneys agree with us on that. So we have certain attorneys that we refer people to that are real estate specialized attorneys that can advise them on whether the short sale is the most appropriate answer for them. And we do that early on in the transaction, way before we even get to the bank and get the approval. So we know up front that they're saying, yeah, let's go through with it. We get the approval, we consummate the buyer and keep the buyer in the transaction. Then we address any deficiencies. Now, some lenders, and there's 1,000 lenders out there, depending on what lender you have, you may have deficiency conversation in the approval that we have to address. It may be ambiguous, it may be black and white, it may be skipped completely, or they may say, hey, we waive our rights to deficiencies. We don't know what that's going to look like until we get approval. And then we handle the deficiency piece tertiary to the primary objective of the approval and the secondary objective of making sure we have the buyer. Then the seller can go and work with the attorney that they've already established a relationship with and have already determined that a short sale is a good option for them, and they can determine whether there's any extra liability or concern around deficiencies. So now, right now, I'm going to wipe the screen clear and I'm going to say something to everybody, and I don't mean to send you sideways, so I'm going to ask you to be empowered and not cry victim on this conversation, okay? I am not a real estate attorney. I'm giving you strictly my opinion right now. Strictly my opinion, okay? I already told you how we operate. Here's my opinion. I am of the opinion that over the next couple of years, as all the short sales that have been done for the last couple of years shake out, we're going to find that short sales, even though the state statute in Arizona is ambiguous around whether it includes short sales or not, that it's supposed to be a foreclosure only, we're going to find that it will include short sales. And I know there's going to be 1,000 people that freak out because I said that. It's my opinion only. I've kind of projected some things in the market the last 3 years and said some things were coming, and if you look at my history, you'll see that we've nailed it almost 98, 100%, like right there. When I say something's going to happen, it usually does, and I project this based on experience, based on talking in the industry, based on my experience in the lending in this institutions. I can see stuff coming, and I just really feel strongly that that short sales will be included in the state statute in Arizona, and that there's going to be a precedent set that it's not a liability exposure for the deficiency. Just my opinion. So I know I probably confused some people. I probably made some people mad. It's totally okay. Stick to the first 5 minutes of the video and you'll understand what our process is, how tight it is, and how it's completely functional. It protects us as real estate agents. It protects the lender and the lending institution to close the transaction with somebody that's going to actually close. And it protects, most importantly, the homeowner who may have a liability out there. It gets them working with an attorney early, and it gets them working with an attorney at the end so that they can have peace of mind that they're making the right decisions, and that all this legal mumbo jumbo and all this red tape within the lender's short sale process of approval doesn't send them sideways. So we're going to protect everybody in the transaction, most importantly the homeowner. So I hope this makes sense for you guys. It applies to all sellers and all transactions, regardless of whether it's investor or owner occupied, that type thing. We handle them the same way. The attorney's going to advise you and you're going to be empowered. So we're going to sign off right there. Appreciate your time today. ArizonaShortSaleTV.com. We'll see you again soon.